Good evening, all, and thank you for tuning in to tonight's story. If you enjoy it, please remember to subscribe and like the video so we can continue bringing you more horror stories. Now, without further ado, take a deep breath and relax as we take a journey through the night. The gas station stood alone on the desolate stretch of highway, its fluorescent lights buzzing against the ink-black sky. The nearest town was 20 miles away, and the only visitors this late were truckers looking for coffee, drifters looking for cigarettes, and things that didn't belong in the world of the living. Jacob wiped down the counter for the third time that hour, boredom gnawing at him. The night shift was always slow, just him, the hum of the refrigerators, and the occasional moth throwing itself against the buzzing red and blue neon open sign. The radio was on low, barely a whisper of static-filled country music in the background. Then the smell hit, burning, thick, acrid, cloying. It filled his nostrils, coated his tongue, clung to his clothes like invisible fingers. Not the sharp tang of gasoline, something organic, something burning alive. Jacob gagged, covering his nose with his sleeve. The station smelled of old coffee, dust, and motor oil. But this was fire, burning wood, something that should have sent alarms blaring. He spun toward the front doors, expecting to see flames licking at the pumps, an inferno swallowing the highway. The parking lot was empty. The pumps stood quiet, the price sign flickering weakly in the night. No smoke, no fire. He grabbed the radio. "Hey, Doug, you smelling this?" "Something's burning." A crackle, then Doug's voice came through, rough with sleep. "Burning? You high, kid?" Jacob scowled. Doug, the owner, only checked in when absolutely necessary. He lived in a tiny trailer a stone's throw from the station, close enough to pick up on the walkie-talkie that they used at the station. "I'm serious, man. Smells like something's on fire. Something bad." Doug sighed through the radio. "Ain't nothing burning, Jake. No alarms going off. No one's called in anything. Probably just roadkill stinking up the place." Jacob wanted to argue, but the smell was already fading, thinning into the stale gas station air, as if it had never been there at all. His stomach twisted. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe his mind was playing tricks on him. Maybe Doug was right. A soft ding broke the silence. Someone had stepped inside. Jacob turned, his stomach tightening. The man at the door was tall, his body thin and stretched in a way that made Jacob's skin crawl. His face was long, eyes deep set, lips pressed together in a straight, thin line. He stood stiff, his hands clasped to his sides. His coat was black and buttoned to the throat, the fabric moving slightly as if caught in an unseen breeze. Jacob forced a smile. "Welcome to Petromart. You need gas or anything?" The man didn't respond. He stepped forward, slow and deliberate, his boots clicking against the linoleum floor. The air around him shimmered, distorting like heat rising from asphalt. Jacob's fingers twitched. "Sir?" The man's lips parted, a slow mechanical motion, like someone unfamiliar with the mechanics of speaking. "The fire," he said, voice hollow, empty. "It starts at 1:37. Jacob's pulse stuttered. "What?" The man's head tilted, his jaw shifting as if testing the weight of his words. "Tonight, 1:37 a.m. It burns." Jacob swallowed hard. "What burns?" The man's lips stretched into a smirk. Then he turned and walked back out into the night. The bell dinged. Jacob stared after him, heart hammering in his chest. The clock on the wall ticked steadily. He picked up the radio with shaking hands. "Doug, you awake?" A groggy grumble. "Jesus, kid, what now?" "A guy just came in, said something's gonna burn at 1:37. Then he just left." Silence then. "Did he look homeless?" Jacob swallowed. He looked off. Doug sighed. "Call the sheriff if you're scared, but there ain't no fire, and ain't nobody burning. You're just tired." Jacob clenched his teeth. Doug wasn't going to help. He set the radio down and turned to the window, half expecting to see the man still standing there, waiting. But the lot was empty. The road stretched into the darkness, endless and silent. He looked at the clock. Almost time. Maybe Doug was right. Maybe it was nothing. Just a weirdo messing with him. He needed to focus on finishing his shift. Jacob turned back to the counter and froze. The security monitors were glitching. The pumps, the aisles, the entrance, all of them filled with static. And then one by one, they flickered back to life. But something was wrong. The monitors showed the station on fire. Flames licked at the shelves, black smoke curling toward the ceiling. The windows glowed red, heat distorting the air. The ice machine melted into a puddle of hissing water. But here, standing in the same room, the fire wasn't real. The store looked normal. Jacob's breath shallowed. He waved a hand in front of the camera. On the monitor, his image stood amidst the flames, the fire creeping toward his feet. A cold dread sank into his bones. He grabbed the radio. "Doug, I need you to wake up right now." Static, then burning, fire, fire, fire. Jacob's blood ran cold. The static was filled with voices, layered, desperate, whispering over one another, screaming. He dropped the radio as the clock hit 1:37. The smell returned, stronger. The buzzing fluorescence above him burst, glass raining down. The register shorted, sparking, the lights flickering wildly. The reflection in the glass freezer doors showed flames, but in the store itself, nothing. Then the knocking started. Rapid, desperate pounding against the windows, the doors, the walls. Jacob spun, horror clawing at his throat. There were people outside, or what used to be people. They slammed their fists against the glass, their bodies blackened and burned, faces half melted, flesh bubbling like candle wax. Their mouths hung open, but instead of voices, static poured out. "Let us out, please. It burns." Jacob stumbled backward, chest heaving. His own reflection in the glass was on fire, embers glowing in his eyes. "This isn't real," he gasped. "This isn't..." The doors burst open, flames roared in, the heat slamming into him like a physical force. He fell, coughing, his skin blistering. The burning figures stepped inside, their melted fingers reaching for him, their mouths whispering in that awful, crackling static. Jacob screamed. The fire swallowed everything. He finally woke up from the checkout counter, unaware of how much time had passed since he passed out. The station was untouched. No fire, no burned figures. Just the quiet hum of the refrigerators, the neon open sign flickering lazily in the window. His breath came in ragged gasps. His skin was unburned, his clothes unsinged. The radio crackled. "Jake, you there?" "Doug." His voice was normal. Jacob snatched the radio. "Doug, there was a fire." Doug sighed. Kid, you ask me if something's burning one more time. I swear to God. Jacob turned slowly to the security monitors. The screens showed the empty parking lot, the quiet aisles, the still night. Then, on camera 4, a single figure stood by pump 4. Tall, his coat moving in an unseen wind. The man raised one long, bony hand and pointed directly at the camera. Jacob didn't move, didn't breathe. The radio crackled once more. See you at 1:37.